Welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that I am really fascinated by. And this is, what do feelings have to do with social media? Well, I think this is a really big missed opportunity that so many people out there don't consider when they are strategizing and coming up with their content for their social media page. So let's have a little bit of a think for a moment. What do feelings actually have to do with Facebook, Instagram, any social media that you incorporate into your business? Actually, a lot, and actually a lot more than what we do give them credit for. I want to talk a little bit today about subconscious brain. Now, this is where the fascinating part comes in. I have been, since I was a young girl and I first moved into the sales and marketing industry. When I first started my first direct selling business, I was always fascinated by why people did certain things a certain way. How do businesses use their marketing strategies to change your behavior without you even knowing that you're doing it? How do they do this? Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about what happens with the subconscious brain when it comes to marketing and branding. The thing is that a lot of the marketing by the big brands out there is targeted towards your subconscious much more than your conscious brain. The part of your brain that isn't actually thinking about where you're going to buy that next item from, what you're reading or seeing, but rather is processing things and storing them for later on. So how do feelings really matter when it comes to marketing? Well, here's the thing. You're more likely to care about how someone makes you feel than what they did to make you feel it. In actual fact, most of your customers will remember the way that you made them feel, but they won't necessarily be able to tell you why they feel that way. Get a little bit curious about this. Have a little thought for a moment about why you love some of the brands that you love. Think of a couple of brands right now that you love, that you follow, that you're loyal to, that you rave to your family and friends about. It might be a clothing brand, it might be a gym, it might even be a Facebook page or someone you found online. Think about some brands that you love and then consider this. What's different about those brands or those people or those businesses that you follow or you love? Why do you love them? Watch them on social media and watch their other marketing activities and start to get a little bit curious about how they make you feel compared to other brands. And then think, is there a correlation here? Is there something that they're making me feel which relates to the business I do with them? Consider this. Are you more likely to spend a bit of extra money doing business with somebody that makes you feel good than doing business with the person that's cheaper? I think you'll probably find that most of the time you navigate directly to the brand or the business that makes you feel good. Also consider this, because this is something I think we often don't think about, but it's so true for so many of us. Have you ever noticed that a single action by a company or a brand, even somebody that you've followed and done business with for years, can change the way you feel and therefore your loyalty to them forever? Have you ever seen a brand get behind something that you don't agree with and it makes you feel something? So how do we change the way that our customers feel about our brand? Well, I want to give you a few tips today to help you to change the way that people feel, or at least have some kind of a control or to strategize throughout this process. Because the subconscious brain is so powerful. Now, you might have heard me talk before about subliminal persuasion or seeding, which is the art of strategically placing your business in the path of your ideal customer so that without even realizing it, when they finally need something that you provide, you are the first thing that pops into their mind. Not because you were there at the right time, but because you've been there the whole time. So here are a few things for you to consider when it comes to your social media activity and how you can have some effect or some influence on the way that people feel. Remember, your customers will remember how you made them feel, not necessarily what you said or did. So what are some of the things you can do? Well, the first is the images that you use are really powerful. We often just plonk images out there for the sake of it, but pause for a little moment. Consider, what is this image going to say to my ideal customer? You notice that your ideal customer is key here. So it's so important that you know who that is. But when you put an image out there, what sort of images are they actually going to relate to? What's going to matter to your target market, your tribe? What do they care about? Is an image with a child going to speak to them more than an image of an older person? Is an image of a cup of coffee going to speak to them more than a glass of wine? What image is going to grab their attention first and foremost and make them feel something? And the next thing that's really important when it comes to feelings is people being able to relate to your images. So consider images that are going to be relatable to your ideal customer. The subconscious brain, by the way, processes images 60,000 times faster than words. So images are a very powerful and very important part of your social media marketing strategy. Do you know, interestingly, there are so many marketers out there that don't stop and consider how the content they're putting out there is actually affecting the feelings of the customers. They're more conscious about the branding, the fonts, the colors, making sure that things are on brand and that they all match each other. These things are all important in their own way, but they should come secondary to how is my customer feeling when they come in contact with my business? What does my social media have to do with that? Remembering you've only got a few seconds to grab their attention as they scroll past you. So what feeling are they getting as they're scrolling past that latest post you just put up? Images are very important. Another one that I would highly encourage you to do where possible is use real images that you've taken. They're going to help you get emotion across so much easier. And I talk a lot about utilizing human elements in images as well. Again, you can evoke so many more feelings by using human elements than you can by just taking pictures of objects. See a lot of people being a little bit afraid of, inserting themselves into images. But just give it a go if you haven't tried it before. Remember as well that the subconscious brain is more likely to interact with an image, to connect with an image that involves a human element than it will if it is just an object or an item. So here's another very important part of feelings, and another one that a lot of people don't even stop to consider, and that is color. Color, just like smell, evokes emotion. It evokes certain emotions in people. And the cool thing about color, unlike smell, is that although it can relate to memories, most of the time, colors evoke the same or similar emotions in everybody. So a few examples of that is, if I go through a few colors now, you can incorporate this into the background image if you're putting text on one of the colored backgrounds on Facebook. If you're creating a post for Facebook, you're in Canva and you're playing around, have a bit of a think about how you're using your colors. Also consider as well if you are using images, even the color that you wear. Do you know, interestingly, when I very first started doing workshops, I was so acutely aware of how color in our clothing affects the first impression people get of you. This is why so often you'll see real estate agents or salespeople in blues and greens, because they're colors that are calm and evoke trust and make people seem more approachable. When I first started doing workshops, I would wear an outfit that had, I used to wear my bright red blazer jacket over the top, particularly if I'm speaking at a conference for the first time and I haven't met that audience before. I will often put my red blazer, my red jacket on top of whatever dress or outfit that I'm wearing. The reason I avoid wearing a red dress, though, is because the color red evokes a sense of assertiveness, authority, and confidence, but it can make somebody seem unapproachable. So what I used to do when I ran my workshops for the very first time and people were meeting me for the first time was to wear my red dress for the very start of my presentation. But as I started to get into my presentation, I would take that red jacket off, and underneath I would have a color that was a little bit more approachable because I wanted people to come up and speak to me and say hello. So I might wear a white dress, for example. If I had a choice, I'd put a blue or a purple dress on, but a little bit harder to match with the red. So you can see where I'm going with this. Colors evoke emotion. They make people feel certain things. That's why you'll see for sale signs in certain colors. You know, if a business has got a sale going on, you'll see a lot of red. You'll see a lot of orange. Certain colors make people feel certain things. Blue is a trustworthy color. Purple is a very emotional and sensitive color. It also, just like green, suggests wealth. So think about the different colors and how they might affect how your customers are feeling when they come across your Facebook page. Little tip here. Start observing some other Facebook pages out there, even websites, and jot down the first 3 feelings you get from that page or that website. And then consider if you think they're good feelings or bad feelings and how they got you there. This is a fantastic way to learn how you can help others experience those same feelings. Do you know, often we think, oh, I can't make my website or my Facebook page as amazing as that other business. It just looks too good. The thing is, it's often the smallest things that make the biggest difference to the way that we perceive a business the very first time we see it. So stop and get curious. Think a little bit about it. Some other ways for you to help influence the way that your customers feel is also consider, what do you stand for that you want them to know about? Be very careful with this one, because I often see people throwing their opinions, their thoughts, their passions around out there on social media. And although it can work very, very well and in your favor, it can also polarize people. Now, polarizing people isn't always a bad thing if you're very clear about who your tribe or your ideal customer is. Those people out there, those leaders specifically in the direct selling industry that know exactly who their ideal customers are, tend to unashamedly put it out there and not worry about those people that they're polarizing. But when you aren't doing this strategically and you aren't clear about who you're reaching, it's very easy to turn off or polarize the very people that you want to attract. So be very deliberate about the passions and the opinions that you put out there. Don't be afraid to scare people off. Just be clear that they're the people that you don't want to be attracting or you don't want to be putting your time and energy into. So just remember to segment maybe some of your personal things and your business things if they're not going to complement each other. So think about, what are you passionate about? Remember, passion is infectious. So sharing some of those things will also change the way people feel. Storytelling, telling a bit of your story, why you're passionate about certain things, whether it's passion about your product or the business itself. It might be passionate about a particular lifestyle and why you care so much about that. People buy into your stories. That helps them connect and feel an emotion. Use emotive words in the post that you're using. What we call buzzwords are super powerful. I'm going to talk about that in just a little moment. But also consider as well the language that you're using. We often, when we write posts on social media, speak in a very different way than we do when we're speaking with people in person. And unfortunately, it then changes the impression people get when they go to our page. If you're at a party or an event or you're doing a demonstration, you're likely to speak a certain way, attract a certain person, build a relationship with people and make them feel something. But then we go to Facebook and we try and be something completely different. Why? So I encourage you to think about the sort of language that you would use when you are having a conversation with your customers in person. If you're having a coffee with them, how would you speak to them? What sorts of words would you use? What phrases? How would you speak with them? And try and bring that across to your social media content. It will be easier for people to read and process, and you're more likely to make them feel a connection, feel something, feel like you're speaking directly to them. So consider the language that you use. Now, this last one here is one of the most important ones, and that is how and even if you interact with your customers. Here's the thing, and this is the thing that gets me super interested and excited about how powerful social media can be. Every time you like somebody's comment, you like somebody's post, or you comment on something they've written, their brain, when they get that little notification on Facebook, their brain releases a little hit of dopamine, the feel-good chemical, the same one that gets released when we eat something that we love to eat or do an activity that we love to do. If you are responsible for that feel-good feeling, they're not going to remember how you got them there. They're just going to remember that you did that to them. If you make them feel good, they're going to remember it, even if it is just subconscious. So you might think that there is no value in spending time liking people's comments on your posts or commenting back on their comments. It's a waste of time, you might think. I've already done that post. I'm moving on to the next one. Stop. The most powerful thing you can do is interact with people on your Facebook page. When someone comments on your post, take the time to like their comment, respond back. And everywhere possible, ask another question. Turn it into a little conversation. Every time they get a notification from Facebook, pop up to say that you responded back to them, you liked their post. They get that little hit of dopamine and you were responsible for making them feel good. So remember how powerful that can be. Do not devalue the importance of interacting, even if it's hitting the like button. It may seem unimportant, but believe me, you are building something very, very powerful. And those relationships are what create loyal fans and followers that stand from the rooftops and shout your name. And in many cases, they may not even know why they love you so much. They just simply know they do. So these are a few ways to help you get there. Now, a last little tip I want to leave you with is to consider, how do you want your customers to feel when they come across your Facebook page or interact with you? And then incorporate this into your strategy. I encourage you to write down a few words. Get really clear on this. What feelings do you want them to leave your Facebook page with, or any post you put out there, even your website if you've got one? Here's a few words that you may want to consider. Fun, inspiring, luxurious, quirky, fashionable, cheerful, hopeful, nurturing, compassionate, loving, trustworthy, mysterious, strong. There are so many ways that you can leave your customers feeling, but if you don't know what they are, then you're not in control of it. Remember to jump out there and check out a couple of Facebook pages. Have a look at a few websites and think of the first 3 words that come to mind, the first 3 feelings that that page or website gives you. They may not be positive, and it's highly likely if they're not, that business hasn't even stopped to consider how they want you to feel when you leave their Facebook page. So get strategic about this. Consider, how do you want your customers to feel? What do you want them to experience when they come into contact with you? And then consider, how can you bring that into your social media strategy? Remember, images are important. Color is important. The words you use is really important. Even how you interact with and engage with your customers. I hope this has opened up a few thoughts for you today. I know we're going a little bit down a rabbit warren here. We're talking a little bit about some unique concepts when it comes to marketing. But I love this stuff, and I think it is one of those areas that so many people completely miss. So I've just given you a little bit of insight into how you and why you follow certain businesses and brands. A little bit of the psychology behind the marketing of the big business brands out there. And guess what? You don't have to be a big business to do them yourself. So start getting curious. It's the best way for you to learn and grow. I hope this has been interesting and you've found a little bit helpful. I look forward to seeing you again on next week's episode. Bye for now. Look after yourself, and we'll see you next week.